and the Nipsey connection. And in the end, you'll know his true intentions.
You was put down here to wake people up.
My son knows the secret to the mystery of life.
In this next video, you will hear Nipsey compare himself to the spook who sat by the door, which is the story of a man who infiltrated the CIA. Now, many people have took this as a sign that he was undercover as a Mason.
Now Blue Laces 2, one of my favorite records on the album, you make a spook who sat by the door reference.
You know about that, man.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I read that book, but I don't think you a spook who sat by the door. I think your intentions are pretty clear.
That's one of the reasons I was so vocal about where I was coming from and what I represented, because I knew who I wanted to mobilize. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna name my last album "The Spook That Sat by the Door." You know what I mean? When I finish my situation.
When I finish my situation.
After years of studying Egyptian history and its parallel to Freemasonry, I am convinced that they believe through ritual magic and worship, they are able to access not only the realms where these Egyptian gods reside, but grant the power to become immortal gods themselves. First, I want to start with Nipsey Hussle's mom at the funeral. She reads an Egyptian ritual off of a piece of paper. She even tells the audience to bear with her because she is not familiar with this. If that's the case, then why would she even do such a thing? Let's see what she says.
I'm supposed to say Ashe, so we called on the answer, so say Ashe.
In ancient times, they had used the word Ashe to invoke divine forces. Through this, they conceived the power to make something happen or produce change. In the definition, I also found interesting a person through training, experience, and initiation learns how to use the essential life forces to willfully affect change. Next, you'll see her do a ritual of libations.
And now I pour libations to the ancestors.
Libations had derived from Egypt. This symbolized an offer to a deity, and that deity was Osiris. Osiris originally was the god of life until he was murdered. His wife Isis, through magic, then brought him back from the dead, where he transitioned to the god of the underworld. After this occurred, Isis gave birth to Horus. He then became the god of the sky who protected and oversaw Egypt. Now Horus is the key to understanding all of this. The truth has been hidden in plain sight this whole time. And once you can grasp their goals through ancient occult worship, you will then understand the journey Nipsey was on.
We need to look to the sky for God. God is within.
Now in the next clip, you're going to hear Nipsey's mom during an interview promote her church called KSRT. As I looked up what that meant in Egypt, it was defined as the anointed one and was applied to Horus.
Crest, K-R-S-T. They teach African spiritual science, okay? And that's where I get my strength from. And as black people, I want to encourage you to go back to your roots and find your creator and find your power, your spiritual power.
This is because they believe Horus is the true Jesus and his power is within all of us. She then goes on to say how the spirits talked to her, and through that she already knew Nipsey was dead before even finding out.
And then when the spirits talk to you, when the LAPD told me that it was Nipsey Hussle that had been shot, my spirit said, oh, that's what it was. Because I already knew it.
She then mentions this one more time at the funeral, and she says her and Nipsey had closure conversations. And in those texts, he says he is ready.
I felt spiritually in my soul as if Ermias was going to leave. And we had conversations through text messaging with one another. And I think that Ermias knew too. And he says, I'm just happy and ready.
This next minute is the most important part to this whole video, so listen very closely. Now let's decode the black and white checkered floor. As I researched Egyptian symbolism and color, I found black represented the underworld and white represented the power of God. Now people were quick to say this symbolism proved Nipsey's ties. However, it goes much, much deeper. Let's continue. So when combined, the black and white colors could represent the power of their god Osiris, who is the god of the underworld. Now in Egypt, pharaohs would worship this idea with the goal of becoming Horus in life and then transforming into Osiris at death. Now let me bring you to the Freemasons website. It states during a 33rd degree ritual they say, and I quote, "You who have passed the square, for your rewards prepare. Join heart in hand, wages to you are due at your command." To make sense of what that meant, these Masons believe Osiris is the true god of the afterlife, and once fully committing to that and worshipping it, they can then become Horus here on Earth, who was the only one to transform from a human into a god. It's also no coincidence that these Freemasons are called widow's sons. This stems from Osiris dying and Isis giving birth to Horus. This then made Horus a widow's son. After you pass the square, join your heart in your hand. I found this stems from the Book of the Dead in Egypt, which states, "Put your right hand over your heart and to your God and say, 'My heart of my mother, my heart of transformations.'" This is because Horus being transformed into a god could have not been achieved without his mother. Now let's tie in Nipsey. First, his brand was the marathon checkerboard symbolism. This could indicate his journey in Freemasonry. Next, we have his final album being called Victory Lap. This could symbolize his final initiation and the passage through the square. And finally, we have his last song being Right Hand to God. This could be him acknowledging the mother of transformations.
Elaborate on why you chose Victory Lap for your album title.
Just the title represents like a moment in my life where I feel like I reached a lot of my life goals.
This is exactly why his mother was given a script to pour libations as an offering to Osiris, as well as saying Ashe to invoke the divine power of Horus into Nipsey as he completes his 33rd degree ritual.
We immortalize Nip now. They thought they took him from us, but he's immortalized. And now he's greater than ever, and I'm so proud of my bro.
So maybe he accomplished his mission.
So with that being said, Nip ended up creating a square. The marathon is going to continue.
A patient leader, a divine light. And until we meet again, the marathon continues.
Marathon continues. I'm gonna end it like this. This man got a letter from Barack Obama, man.
Now Snoop Dogg ended his speech by saying Nipsey got a letter from Obama. And as I read this letter, it states he got the chance to see Nipsey's transformation. It's no coincidence because all the ones in power are Freemasons as well. I also want to point out that at the funeral we saw the use of purple and blue. In Egypt, purple symbolized magic, mystery, and power, while blue represented rebirth. This is why Horus was always depicted with blue, because through the magic of his mother, he was rebirthed into a god. They would also only paint the pharaohs blue who achieved this god-level power. And let me tell you, it's no coincidence that these Freemasons use these exact two colors only at the highest levels. Now people nicknamed him Nipsey Blue. LeBron James even came onto Twitter to start a viral thread asking Crayola to name the new blue crayon after Nipsey. And his real name translates to God is risen. He also has a tattoo saying God will rise. The elite want to achieve Horus's power. Let's bring you to the dollar bill. We see the bird with something above his head as well as holding something below his feet. And this is the 33rd degree emblem. This all stems from Horus, who was depicted as a bird. We also see the all-seeing eye, which stands for the Eye of Horus, since he became the god of the sky who oversaw Egypt.
You were 33 when you was taken from this world, and that's not a coincidence.
In order to understand what 33 represents, you must know to achieve Horus's power, you have to allow what is known as the sacred secretion produced at the bottom of your spine to rise. This is where it meets your pineal gland, which is also known as the third eye. Now this takes 30 days to rise, and then it sits for 3 more days before releasing. And once it releases, it does not only hit the pineal gland, but also your 12 cranial nerves, which illuminates all major functions in the body. Now this mirrors Jesus' story, since he lived for 33 years. He was also rebirthed after 3 days of death, where he then met his 12 disciples. Finally, we see more confirmation in this connection through Jacob's ladder. In the story, he sets a ladder on earth and is able to reach God. This ladder is also seen as a symbol in Freemasonry, where the ladder specifically leads to the sky. This ladder is the symbolism of the 33 vertebrae that the secretion travels to before illuminating the mind and reaching Horus's consciousness. We then have a passage from Genesis that states, "And Jacob called the name of this place Peniel, for I have seen God face to face, and my life is preserved." This can only be activated through certain practices, and this forbidden knowledge has been kept from you for thousands of years. This is why our ancestors always depicted pine cones. This symbolism is even seen with the Vatican and the Nipsey connection.